To understand Zen Buddhism, you have to look past the incense and the meditation cushions. At its core, Zen is an attempt to achieve unmediated cognitive transfer, a direct, instantaneous experience of reality that bypasses logic and language entirely. But the popular understanding of how this tradition developed is heavily distorted. Zen did not originate in Japan. It doesn't throw out all ancient scriptures, and despite its modern packaging in the West, it is not a secular relaxation technique designed to lower your blood pressure. The very name of the tradition maps its geographic migration. It started in ancient India with the Sanskrit word for meditation, dhyana. As the practice moved into China, it was transliterated into the character Chan. Centuries later, crossing to Japan, it was pronounced Zen. The traditional religious narrative insists this geographic journey was carried by an unbroken mind-to-mind transmission. A continuous lineage of enlightened patriarchs passing the flame directly from Siddhartha Gautama to the Japanese masters. Historical scholarship paints a different picture. The archaeological and textual evidence shows no clean, linear transmission. Instead, it reveals a fractured, multi-century process of adaptation, mistranslation, and intense cultural synthesis. What we now call Zen is a syncretic pipeline. It is the result of distinct philosophical and cultural paradigms colliding and fusing over a millennium. The timeline begins in ancient India with Siddhartha Gautama. Early Buddhist liberation practices relied heavily on intense, focused meditation as the primary tool to extinguish psychological suffering. Around the 1st century CE, the tradition expanded into Mahayana Buddhism. This shift generated vast libraries of complex philosophical texts, attempting to decode the exact nature of reality and the human mind. This illustrates a core Mahayana concept, shunyata, or emptiness. No phenomena possess independent existence. Everything exists in dependence. Alongside this is the doctrine of Buddha nature, asserting that profound awakening is not restricted to a few ancient sages, but innate within all sentient beings. These concepts were painstakingly detailed in the Prajna Aramita literature. The traditional story claims Chan was established in China by a single man, Bodhidharma, an Indian monk who supposedly stared at a cave wall for 9 years. Historians largely view Bodhidharma as a composite figure. He was likely retroactively created by later generations to legitimize Chan's lineage, providing a tether back to the authority of Indian Buddhism. This retrospective myth-making was a political necessity. In a competitive Chinese religious landscape, Chan needed an authoritative origin story to establish its independence from rival Buddhist schools. The definitive characteristics of Chan were formalized during the Tang Dynasty, between the 7th and 10th centuries. A central figure in this institutionalization was the 6th patriarch, Huineng, whose teachings cemented the specific identity that would later reach Japan. Huineng heavily promoted the concept of sudden awakening. This challenged older, gradual models of enlightenment that required decades of step-by-step merit accumulation and textual study. The Tang formalization emphasized a direct transmission outside the scriptures. Mastery of sacred texts was demoted. The lived, immediate experience of reality was elevated to the highest priority. Huineng and the Tang Dynasty writers moved the focus of the tradition from studying texts about enlightenment to experiencing the cognitive state directly. This mature Chan tradition reached Japan during the Kamakura period, an era defined by political upheaval and the rise of samurai rule. The monk Eisai returned from China to establish the Rinzai school. This tradition is characterized by an intense, often confrontational relationship between teacher and disciple. To force awakening, Rinzai utilizes koan practice. As this flowchart shows, a koan acts as a pedagogical technology. It traps the student's mind in the loop of logical reasoning until it hits a paradox wall, shattering dualistic logic and forcing a sudden, open state of awareness. Shortly after, the monk Dogen established the Soto school, introducing a different approach. Dogen championed shikantaza, or just sitting. He argued for a collapse of the distinction between means and ends. The act of meditation itself is the manifestation of enlightenment, not merely a tool to achieve it. Rinzai and Soto represent divergent technological frameworks. One uses paradoxical friction, the other uses absolute stillness, but both are engineered to achieve the same non-dual cognitive state. The evolution of Japanese Zen did not stop in the medieval era. In 1654, a Chinese monk named Ingen Ryuki arrived in Japan. He established the Obaku school, bringing with him distinct cultural and religious practices from Ming Dynasty China. Unlike Rinzai or Soto, Obaku uniquely combined traditional Zen meditation with Pure Land practices, such as the rhythmic chanting of the Buddha's name. The enduring presence of the Obaku school demonstrates that Zen is not a static relic. It is an adaptable tradition, capable of integrating new syncretic elements into its practice. Philosophical concepts of emptiness, non-duality, and direct experience bled out of the monasteries, leaving a distinct mark on Japanese cultural aesthetics. This diagram maps how core principles like shunyata materialize into physical disciplines. The ontology of emptiness and negative space are physically engineered into kare-sansui, traditional rock gardens where raked gravel becomes a canvas for contemplation. The focus on immediate, direct experience manifests in the ritualized parameters of the tea ceremony, which grounds the practitioner's attention squarely in the present moment. And concepts of sudden awakening and spontaneous action are captured in traditional inkwash painting and the single, uncorrected brushstroke of the Enso calligraphy circle. These disciplines culminate in wabi-sabi, the aesthetic appreciation of the imperfect and the impermanent. It is a cultural application of Mahayana philosophy. Zen's history demonstrates how complex Indian ontology was translated into pragmatic aesthetics, anchoring its insights not in texts, but in direct human experience.